Next take here. The offensive line is fixed. Hooray. No more worries about the offensive line because of their play on Saints or play on Sunday against the Saints. We can just sign, seal, delivered. Don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, let's slow our roll on that. The offensive line is fixed. I do want to talk about. I'll give it a rating here at the top. The Hot Read Heat Index rating on the offensive line being fixed. I'll give it a like 5.56. I think it's a little hotter than lukewarm, but it's not crazy talk. And it's not crazy talk because when you look at the numbers, and speaking of Zach Lyons, our buddy Zach Lyons does a lot of good work on social media, pulling a lot of these numbers. He had a tweet earlier today where he was reiterating the Titans' offensive line performance from week 1 statistically. Sacks allowed, 2. League average was 1.4. So they above average in the sacks that they allowed against Ryan or on Ryan Tannehill. Quarterback hits allowed 3, NFL average 2.1. So not trending well in terms of league average so far. But then you get into quarterback hurries allowed. They allowed 7. League average was 7.8. So better than league average on the hurries allowed. Right at league average with total pressures allowed, 12 total pressures allowed, 11.4 was the average. And then their pass blocking snaps, they had 40 of those, and the league average was 38.75. So not a matter of, lack of sample size here either. They were pass blocking a lot, and they did a pretty decent job. I saw, and I'm going to try to pull up these numbers, JT, but I may have you go find them for me real quick. ESPN came out with their offensive line grades today. From week 1 game sample size, can't overreact to it. But you saw, I think I saw that they were the 11th ranked offensive line in the league, according to, I don't know if it was PFF. I think the PFF grading, they were the 11th team in the league, which is certainly higher than they've been all of last year. I don't know when the last time they were that high in the rankings. And then in the ESPN rankings, it is broken down further, but they had them ranked around top 10, in the top 10 in a couple of different categories. They were highly graded. They got high marks for their week 1 performance, certainly well above. There's a fly just annoying the fool out of me right now. Certainly high above the watermark that was expected for this group coming in, because this team, no matter what outlet, evaluator, algorithm you looked at coming into the season, they were the 32nd out of 32 offensive line this year. In week 1, they were far from the worst. In fact, they were above average, according to pretty much anything you look at. I think they passed the eye test as well, especially in that second half. They settled down some, and you got some really nice quarterback play. Again, I don't think that, unlike a lot of games last year, I don't think you can attribute this loss to the offensive line performance. Was it an active benefit for the Titans? No, I'd say it was pretty, it was serviceable. It was good. Maybe like a serviceable plus. A good plus. Was it great? No. Was it bad? Absolutely not. I was impressed, especially with, like you saw Peter Skoronski really only make one big mistake, a rookie in his first game playing, again, should be an easier position, moving from tackle to interior offensive line, but playing left guard, a position he has at no point in his football life played before. He only had one communication error and one sack allowed where he and Andre Dillard were not communicating well in switching off on I think it was a stunt that their responsibilities, they weren't on the same page, and it allowed a free rusher to get to Tannehill. But beyond that, he was really, really good. And I've seen cut-ups from folks on social media. I saw a number of times when I went back through the All-22 film and watched him in particular in the run blocking game. I mean, it was Pancake City. He was really, really effective as a run blocker. And I would say he was probably the best offensive player for this team. He and Derrick Henry were 1A, 1B for this team, in my opinion. After rewatching that game, I was really impressed from what I saw from him. And then Chris Hubbard, man, this is maybe a sub take on, is the offensive line fixed? Is Chris Hubbard good? If that's the take, I would say it's hot. I'd say it's let's say it's an 8. Because again, this is a 32-year-old journeyman offensive lineman. There's a reason he was available when he was late into the summer. There's a reason that he's not being paid very much in terms of the tackle market. But in week 1, dude was good. He looked good. He was really serviceable. I'm going to pull up the stat here from our buddy Justin Graver, but he was, I think, the number 1 graded tackle in the league I don't want to say it wrong.
Offensive tackle pass block win rate.
Win rate. Okay,
rankings.
yeah. The number one pass block win rate tackle from week 1. I had tweeted it out saying this is the most surprising stat, Titans stat of the week. Maybe the most surprising that we see in a while. The fact that Chris Hubbard, a journeyman, 32-year-old tackle that was brought in very late into the game to sub in after your starting right tackle gets suspended for gambling. He comes in as the number 1 graded pass block win rate tackle with 23 wins, a little dyslexia there, 23 wins on 23 plays, a 100% pass block win rate on a 31% double team rate. Dude was dealing out there. He was pitching gas. Chris Hubbard, old man, still got it. He was above the likes of Jack Conklin, former Titan, Penei Sewell, regarded as one of the best left tackles in the league, Abe Lucas, one of the best young tackles in the league in Seattle. He was dealing out there. And I don't think anybody saw that coming. Certainly the bigger concern in terms of tackles was the left side and Andre Dillard. And, in the grand scheme of things, maybe more concerning in that regard, that the left side is your problem side. But if the veteran they're both veterans, but I guess I should say the guy with a higher expectation, maybe certainly more tools, better raw player in Andre Dillard is the one with the problem. I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to circle this square a little bit, square this circle, but are you happy today, JT? Maybe folks in the chat chime in on this. Are you happy today that Andre Dillard is the one you're more concerned about than Chris Hubbard? I kind of think that's a net positive.
Well, Alex Titan says in the chat here, I thought Dillard looked underwhelming, but then I had Vietnam flashbacks of Dennis Daly and cracked a smile. I think everyone also
full-blown
did.
PTSD.
I honestly think that, Chris, it's kind of a sigh of relief, I think, if anything. Like, okay, maybe this guy can be serviceable, and even if MPF comes back and is not MPF and it just doesn't look better, okay, Chris Hubbard still wheeling and dealing. I think there is more concern, though, about Andre Dillard's play because of how streaky he was in the preseason and just like how it continues to look like if he starts off bad, there's no way for him to recover in a game. So like the first or second series for that offensive line is probably Andre Dillard, to watch him is probably the most important thing, because that's how that's going to dictate how the left side of the line is going to go for that day. So I think that's a little bit more concerning because of just like you gave him that contract and you're kind of expecting him to be a serviceable replacement above Dennis Daly. But like if being above Dennis Daly is still only like being below average, like it's still not great, And
that's what we talked about coming into the season, right? That no matter what you get from Andre Dillard, we don't know. The range of outcomes is pretty wide. Law of averages, it can't be as bad as what you had last year at left tackle. And through week 1, I would say, yes, that holds water. That still holds up. But again, better than horrible can be really, really bad. There are levels to this. So yeah, Chris Hubbard, good. Andre Dillard, underwhelming, but I don't think there's any reason for huge concern there. Let's move on to the next take.
Yeah, and before we move on real quick, just to give you some perspective on this Tennessee Titans line per PFF's premium stats, the Titans ranked 4th in run blocking, and they ranked 11th in pass blocking. So,
which that's maybe most surprising to me, JT, because we talked all summer about how this team was rebuilding their offensive line in the model of a pass blocking offensive line. Like the MO on all of these new guys they brought in was that they are better pass blockers than they are run blockers. And so part of me, the back of my head was going into this game thinking, well, the pass blocking may be greatly improved. They may have gone from worse in the league to league average, but it may come at the expense. Their run blocking may be really, really bad to start. And that it may kind of change the complexion of this team. They're still balling as run blockers. So like, that's still a thing that's not a problem for them. And if they can do both of those things at like top 12 levels all season long, you're in an amazing territory as compared to where you were last year. There's nothing you can complain about that, especially with a brand new group, kind of a ragtag island of misfit toys situation with a handful of these guys that come in and they immediately work well together. Again, can't overreact positively or negatively to 1 week. They could be a 5-alarm flaming dumpster fire disaster in just a couple of days at Nissan Stadium. We'll have to see. But against a good Saints team, a good Saints pass rush, they held their own.